Shed Aquarium, curiosity lives below the surface.
Good evening, everybody. It's David, and thank you for joining me today at our paint along. And thank you so much for actually coming by every week and watching. I've been getting a lot of people sending me emails and thanking me for doing this, and I actually truly enjoy it. And I'm so happy that you guys are all learning something. And so today we're going to be doing a little bit of a greeting card. I had somebody was tagging me last week, and a bunch of people actually were asking me, let's do some greeting cards, or let's do something that looks like they could use it for greeting cards. And so here we're doing one tonight. And so I already did it this afternoon, and it's not too bad. I'm going to change a few things. I'll show you that. Tonight's beer again comes from Lynn. We had a couple weeks ago we just did a demonstration, and I got 2 beers, and so she may be online. And so it is a New Glarus Brewing Company raspberry tart. A raspberry tart today. And again, thank you, Lynn, for giving this. So we're going to try it and give it a little pour. And look how red that is. Wow, really red. Very cool. I've had New Glarus before, but this is a new one I've never tried, raspberry tart. So we'll see. That's a terrible pour again. Let's pour more of that in there. And so let's just go right out. Before I taste it, I'm going to sit there and see who's all here. Wow, look, we have a bunch of people. All right, thank you. Everywhere from Green Bay to Florida, Evanston, Kathy from Minnesota, all the way from Oshkosh. And thanks a lot again, guys, for coming around and watching. And actually, somebody today asked me about where they can get the pictures that we're doing, and we always have new people coming in. And so, if you want to join my Facebook page, we give you a lot of answers, and get everything on my website. Here it is, my website. Everything you find right here at BeckerArt.net or davidartbecker.com. And I haven't done daily paintings lately. I put up there because I've been posting all kinds of things. I've been so busy with stuff. But anyways, you find everything here on my website. You go down here and you can sign up for my newsletter, which also has everything every Tuesday. And right here, you sign up for my newsletter right there. And you just put your name and email there, and you just sign right up. And the supplies we're using today are our Holbein watercolors, our BeckerArt brushes, our Stonehenge paper. It's all the same. We're not doing much different today. Let's go to our value study, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this painting, because there's 2 ways you could do this. And this afternoon I did one that was very colorful, and I think I'm going to do one less colorful and just see how that works. And so what we're going to do is, you can do it 2 ways, and I'm always talking about how you look for your black and white, right? And so this one, I kind of show you that we have a lot of middle tone here. See all this middle tone, all this blue? This is all middle tone. The snow is basically our light area, but also it's our middle tone, because we have a little bit of light right here, right? And to show that light from the cabin onto the snow, you can't. It's more like this right over here. It's more, this is the black and white that you'd see more of, to show that that light's hitting here, and a little bit of the sun, the light in the sky. So that would be your lights, and everything else would be your darks. So the middle tone, again, the middle tone can go either way. Or you can do it like this. And I did it this afternoon. I did it more like this, where I had the whole sky light, and I had all the snow white. And even if I do this scene and I make this snow not quite black, it's not going to be black, of course. But if I have middle tones more towards the dark, then I have more of this thing. So this afternoon, I'll show you in a second that I did this black and white lineup. And so what I'm going to do instead this evening, I'm going to do more of this kind of look, where I'm going to have the light of the cabin be more of what's going to really glow. And so it doesn't glow, my painting doesn't glow as much, because I did more of this. And so you can see that if I do, like, if I take my middle tones and move it more into this fact, it wouldn't be glowing so much as it would be here. All right, and so you can see in the photograph, this middle tone is a little bit darker, and so that's more, this is what the black and white would look like. And again, middle tones, like I always tell anybody who's new here, would I have to go back and I explained that, yeah, I go for my black and white and I make the middle tones either go to the light or to the dark. And so that's what we did on both of these. This one I made the middle tones to the light and this one to the dark. And so this afternoon I did this, and tonight I'm doing this. All right, and so let's go right to our tabletop. Let me try the beer and give you a oh, that's really good. That's a very good beer. Very sweet. You know me, I like the sweet beers anyways, but it's a little tart. But this cold in the summer would taste really, really good. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 11. Now, it's not 11, but not many beers give me 11. I go to 11 because that's my favorite number, and it's 11 paintbrushes. So 10 paintbrushes for the New Glarus Raspberry Tart. Very good. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Wow, that's really good. Yummy. All right, so here's what I did this afternoon. And like you can tell, see how it's not glowing? Is because the sky is light. You know, it's a middle tone, but it's in the light. So if I want to get that look where it's just glowing from the light of the cabin, then I've got to make my sky darker. I've got to make the snow darker around this area so that that pops. And either way, it's going to work out fine. I mean, you can do it either way you want. And I also used white paint on this. And to let you know, when it comes to the cabin, I had AI actually put Photoshop AI. I made it put this cabin into this scene. This cabin was not in this scene, and also the river wasn't in there. So this scene was brought to you by AI, artificial intelligence, and it put it in there. And it's not a great looking drawing for the cabin, so I had to make a few things up. And so that's I kind of want you to do that anyways. I want you to make up, you know, like if you know what a cabin looks like. I mean, it's got 4 walls, and we got the roof, and we got a little porch in back here. You know, it's hard to tell where the door is, but you make it. You make it your cabin and make it up the way you want to. This again is sometimes when AI puts stuff together, it kind of just doesn't show that much detail. So you detail it up the way you want to. And again, I'm going to go for a little bit darker this time. And I'm not going to go for the quite, this is kind of like more orange. I'm going to go more for a a little bit warmer red and more of a pink. Like I guess a pink I want to go for. All right. And I can't believe I didn't use any violets in this picture. And so hardly any. In the green I put some. And actually the green of the trees isn't showing in the picture. So I may go more for a more grayish tine tones, but that's up to you what you want to do. And please ask questions if you need to ask questions. I will try to answer as best I can. And look at all the, hey Lynn, your beer is a 10, so thank you so much. And cheers, 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 Liz. Liz was last week's beer, and it was also a 10. That was also a good beer. So thank you, and here we go. So there's this afternoon's, and so we're gonna. And also another thing I did is when I did this painting, I put in this fence only because it seemed like it was like a stage for something, and this is always to the right, and so I needed to balance it out a little bit. So I put this little fence in here because it seemed so empty right here, and it just seemed like it needed something. I was gonna put people in, but I thought, well, no, we're not gonna do that. But tonight I am putting people in. I'm going to make it more of a Christmas card where a family is pulling a Christmas tree into the cabin for Christmas. All right. So here we go. So what we're going to do first is our lights, like we always do. We always do our lights first, right? And so even though that this is all light, but there's very little bit of light in the little areas, right, where the people are. And so the people are going to be in the light, standing in the light with shadows coming across there. And the light is those few places that I showed in the value study, right? But that doesn't mean that these parts are going to be dark, like the black that you saw in there. It just means that this parts that are in my medium will be more towards the dark part than in the light part, as this one I did this afternoon. Hope that makes sense to you guys, because it's very important to follow your value study of black and white. And the middle tones, like I said, they can go either way, but I like to make them simple so that you know exactly what they are going to be. So I'm wetting the whole paper. And why do I wet the whole paper? Because I want to just do the soft edges. I want to get my lights in there. And a lot of the lights, like right here, are going to be white of the paper because it's snow. That's white. Here is going to be a little bit lighter, and so I'll make a little bit more of a pink instead of a. I had more of an orange there this afternoon. I'm going to do more of a pink, and so I'm taking a little bit of opera with the pink in jaune number 4, and I'm just going to place that right in the middle there. And right away, I'm going to put it down into the water because the water down here has the same values. Now this is a light, but it goes right away into a dark. And so it doesn't take much to do my lights this time because there's not much of them in there. As you saw in the little study I showed you, there was only a couple little spots that were white. And so those parts I get done right away. You know, inside the building here, inside the light, inside the cabin, it's gonna be nice and light. And I can also do that later on if I need to do a little bit lighter. I can actually add white with yellow, and I can make it opaque. And here the porch, it has a little bit of reflection on the porch, a little bit of light. And again, I'm going more with a pinkish salmon-y color more than the orange. The orange, because I want to use a little bit more purple. And so it's a little bit more yellowish kind of that I want to add this time. Now the middle tone to the dark is what I'm putting in now. The large, this is step 2. That's all I need for the light. I don't need much for light. And the smoke, I'm going to put smoke coming out of the chimney, and that's going to be light, but that's just going to be white of the paper. And so I'll leave that go. So let's get our sky in there now, which is going to be more darker. It's going to be darker than the this afternoon's one, and I'm just going to use some nice ultramarine blue, making it a little bit darker this time because I didn't, and actually a little Prussian blue, and leave it lighter as I go down towards here. Make it pretty dark because I want it to glow. I want this to really glow like you see in the picture. I really want that look of glowing. And it's not like this afternoon because it doesn't glow as much. This is more like it's almost daytime, right? It's not night. It's not dark enough. So I want to make it a little bit darker this time. I'm going to have a little purple in the sky with that dark blue just to get it nice and dark. And it's going to dry 20% lighter. So remember, if it looks right while it's wet, it's wrong. It's not the right value because you have to make it darker than what it should look like. It's got to look wrong. It's got to look like too dark. And I rarely do that because it's hard for me to sit there and do that. And now I'm going to lose a lot of my pencil lines because I'm going over with a nice dark. But if that happens to you, you're going to have to redraw it. And but it's just pine trees, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. They don't have to be exactly what I drew. It can be something different. I'm going to put a little violet in here that has a little bit of opaqueness to it. So that's going to give it a little bit of like a cloud look. And I'm going to go in there again with the opera, a little bit of pink. It's going to make it a little bit purpley pink. If you rest it up a little bit like this and let it bleed downwards, then you get that little like look of like almost northern lights. You can almost do that too. I almost did a little bit of that this afternoon too. But I didn't leave it go. So I'm holding it up a little bit so that it'll bleed downwards a little bit. And that's why you put your board or your paper on a board, which hopefully sooner or later I'll be just working on boards so I don't have to ever glue it down or tape it down again. That's what my goal is, to just work on getting all my paintings done on a board. Well, thanks a lot for making it. Thanks, Evie, for the fence remark. Yeah, it needed something, and so I thought a fence would be great. All right, and so there's my sky. Is it dark enough? If you like the blue, like the brighter blue in here, you can actually take like bright blue and put it in there. Here I can take like a little pure ultramarine blue and just stick it in there. I should have some Verdadure blue. Verdadure blue is a great snow blue, and I just don't have it on my palette, which I should have done before I got it here. Oh well. We'll use next time. Verdadure blue is a great purple blue, and so that makes for great snow when you're doing snow. Here I'm just gonna... Alright, and there's my darker sky this time. Now the snow down here I also want to make darker. So I'm gonna go through the people. They're gonna be in the light, but there parts of them in their dark snow. And I know this looks really really dark right now, but you watch, like always, it always looks way too light, and that's what happened this afternoon. I thought I was getting darker, but you have to make it darker than you think, at least 20% darker than you want it. So this is going to be the dark. This is the light snow. This is actually the snow that's not lit up. This part right here where it's lit up, that's white. I'm just going to keep that white. But let's get a little violet in there. Let's get the bottom of the, put that right into the water. Paint through things. Paint through. You're not doing pieces. You have to get this as my light. And now this is my middle tones. These are my middle tones. So like I showed you before, I do my lights first, and then my large middle tones, then my large darks, and then my detailed darks. And step 2 is the large details, large medium and large darks together. And so I'm going through here. Middle tone, lavender through here, maybe a little bit darker over here. Because when you think about it, the trees are going to be super dark. They're almost going to be black. And so this looks really dark right now, but this is going to look really light when it gets dry. So really push it. Push it, push it, push it. Same thing with over here. This light snow. This is light snow, right? But look at how dark I'm making it. Because once I get the darks in there, then this will be very, very light. I look a lot lighter than it's supposed to be, and so I'm going to put a little lavender in there, a little bit of purple, purple blue, bright blue. See, I know again, like it's always weird for beginners to realize that I am doing the lights right now and the middle tones, and I know it looks really dark, but it's once I get my darks in there. And this middle tone, actually, remember in my sketch, these middle tones are in the dark. So it's okay to make them a little bit darker because they're not part of my light scene. The light scene will be the roof, the lights inside the house, and this little patch right there. And that will then make it look like it's really, really dark. And the light is only coming from the window, from a little bit from above and a little bit from the cabin itself. Again, this is the snow on top of the roof. And again, this is my lights. My middle tones, not my lights, my middle tones in the dark. Sometimes I think it's hard for beginners to understand what I'm talking about right now because I'm basically following my value study, and I could have done it either way, where the sky, the middle tones go towards the light or the dark. And knowing that which way you want to go is what you want to really understand, because you need to follow the value study. The value pattern is everything. So this is a middle tone. It's actually the light part of this is actually the rooftop is the light part. And so, but of the middle tones. So it's the lightest of the dark. All right, that doesn't have to be quite as dark as the other places. So that's kind of rubbed a little bit on there. All right, so now that it's all pretty much, I got all my lights and my middle tones, and I don't have my large darks yet. That's next. So here's a shadow that goes across here. There's a shadow right there that is in the picture. Now I put a dog right here and 3 people, a husband, wife, and a kid. And so I'm just gonna put them in there just because it's a Christmas card story of they're taking the tree. And let me get another drink here. This is really good. Cheers, everybody. I can't believe it's Thanksgiving next week. I can't believe how fast that came. So I'm also stalling here a little bit. So, all right. So while I'm stalling, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my large darks. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these trees back here. And so I'll make them, that's drying a little bit, but it's going to give me a little bit of a weird edge because it's still damp. So what I'll do is I'll use a little bit more pigment, but that's not going to be quite as dark as in the photo because I'm going to make this a little bit lighter, and as it comes this way, it's going to get darker, those trees. And now the trees that have snow on them, there's many ways of doing that. I could have just put the blue in there and then painted around that. but that's gonna be too hard to get any kind of detail back there. So I'm gonna do it afterwards with white paint, and it's just that much easier, and it looks great. I like that look of gouache on top of that, so I'm gonna do it that way. Again, if you were in a exhibition like TWSA, you couldn't put white in there. You'd have to go put your blue first, and then paint around those little parts. And even this tree right here, I'm going to be putting more snow than is on the picture. The picture doesn't have much snow on it, but I'm going to put a little bit more snow on there, and I'm going to do it with white paint, like I did here this afternoon. See how I used white paint to put the, actually blue paint, to put the snow on the trees. And I find it to be totally fine. And even these little icicles on the house, I did that with opaque colors. Again, you can do it the other way, and but for timing purposes, I will not go around it, and I'm just going to go through. And let's do it before it gets too late here. All right. Hey, Maria. Thanks for stopping in. Just say a quick hello. Hey, Maura. All right, so there's the colors are pretty good, and got some nice granulation happening today. Some really nice, and so I don't want to wreck all that. So let's go in here right now. Let's get a dark color. I'm gonna go with like a little bit more purple and blue. I'm gonna grade down and not get too crazy with the darkness back here. I'm gonna make this a little bit. Oh yeah, see it's a little bit damp, and so I'm gonna get a little bit of that damp look. But that's okay. I'm just gonna fill this in and go right into this tree. This tree is going to be really dark. And so what's important here is the outer edge of these trees. And I'm getting a little bit of this bleed back because it is damp. And so I get a little bit of that look when you're working into a damp thing, where you get those little edges, which it doesn't look too bad. So that's fine. But see, I'm keeping it a little bit lighter than in the photo. I'm not making it super dark right away. Because that way this will pop forward and now push back, and this is farther back than this area, so as I go to the right it's going to get darker and darker. And I could go around these areas, or I can scrape this out like I did in class today. I scraped out those little light little hits. You take your, you can take your fingernail, or you can take a knife, a palette knife, and you can scrape into that. I'm just making the tree. What's important here is the outer edge of this tree to make them look like the kind of trees they are. And this looks like the top of a pine tree. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect up there. It's not like, you can make it look a little bit, not like the photo. You don't have to go copy the photo exactly to a T. Here I'm putting, make it a little bit darker. I use my brush to get that look of, by poking it sideways, like I'm poking it like this, you can get those nice branches like that by just pushing. A little bit more purple in that green, make it dark, and then right here is I'm gonna make that line where the forest starts. And this is a really soft edge right now because it is wet. I'm gonna go right over the people's heads. I'll have to put them in later. They're going to have to be darker or lighter. I'll scrub them out. I could have put, if I wanted them to be lighter, which they could be, then I would have to mask those out. But again, I will just use white opaque paints like gouache, or paints that have a little bit of white in it, or use white in my paint. So that's pretty dark. I know it's pretty dark, but that's okay because, like I said, I will put lighter parts in there later. If I want to make it look like it's, if it says snow on it. But I have to make it dark enough because that was my problem this afternoon. I didn't make things dark enough. And if you make them too light, then you don't get the light effect. And I'm really pushing for the light effect this time. And I will get the snow in there. It's just going to be darker. I mean, let me show you. I can put some of it while it's wet. You take a little bit lighter color. Like I'll take this lavender. And then I'll just tap in there, and it's wet, so it'll float, and you get a little bit of light. You can kind of see. I'm gonna make it lighter later. I don't want to do it now. You could do it while you're doing it too. You can actually go around those areas and get it done right away. So this is going to take a little bit more time because there's a little bit of drawing involved here of doing these trees. And so you got to get the tops of the trees look nice. And don't skimp on that because it's more important that the outer edge of these trees look like trees than you just mashing it. You know, really make those trees look like they're the pine trees that you see there. And these kind of trees are really, in nature, are more broken up. They're not like the trees that you know, the trees that, the Christmas trees that you see in the yards that you're buying for the holidays. No, it's not the same. They're not the same kind of trees. They're broken up a little bit here, so don't make them perfect. Unless you really want to, because it's like you want to make it a Hallmark card. And so here I'm going and just kind of tapping it in. And I don't see any of my lines anymore, so I'm just making up the trees now where I feel they should be. And I never try to make them the same. You know, this one's going to have a little branch heading over that way. Now there are 3 over here. I'm going to make one smaller, a little bit shorter, one taller, and one wider. I try to vary it up a little bit. And then I'm just poking down, and I'm using Prussian blue, a little bit of cracking gold to make it green, then a little bit of purple to make it really dark. And then this is going to be smoke coming out of the chimney, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, I'm going to wet it after I get this in there first. And it'll come out perfectly fine because I'll just go in there later to get the soft edges. I'll just wet it and it'll bleed and it'll be perfect. Going down the side. Now I'm negative painting the rooftop, you know, because that's, now it looks like a rooftop because you're doing the background. That's negative painting, right? So you know how to do that. And here's the third tree. Make this one a little bit shorter. So this, if you're around Illinois this Sunday, I'm doing a thing called the Show-In. It's a little art sale, and it's in Libertyville, Illinois. It's where I teach on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. And we're going to have some of my students and friends and possibly my son will show some of his work. And we're going to be doing a little sale. Nothing's over $300. And you can buy cards and original art, prints, and just for the holiday type of thing. And that goes from 12 at the Civic Center. And I actually didn't put it on my website. I got to put it on my website. Didn't think about that. But if you're on my Facebook page, you see I just posted that. And so you got to be around Illinois because it's on Sunday from noon to 3. So there we have our darks, and look at how dark they are, and a little bit more green in some spots here. And again, I didn't do the snow on there yet because I'll do that later. It's too much, and I think for the student to do it, it's too much too. It's too much to try to go around each one of those little things if there's snow on the branches. Just make it dark for now. And now here's the smoke coming out of the chimney. What I do is I take a wet brush, and I just, like I taught this week about how to lay down water and then just let the wash bleed by itself. So all I'm doing is I'm tickling the paper with water, and I'm just letting the pigment come up, and I can take a thirsty brush, wipe it on here, and then just take out some of that paint and just make it look like smoke coming out of the chimney. And I can take a thick amount of paint to go back if I make a little bit more of an edge to it. So there's a little smoke coming out of the chimney. And you could just do whatever you want. I mean, if you want to make it really go way out and stuff, or just let it bleed off like this, it's up to you. I just thought it's nice to put that little bit of, look into it. Here I'm taking it out and putting it back in. All right, so that's the background. And now let's go for our large dark tree in the front here. So the same thing, since I'm doing it, I might as well go right away into this tree. And this is my large darks. This is basically my second step, large darks. It should be fun. Next year I hope to do it again, Maria. So maybe you can actually sell your stuff there too. I let all my students. If you wanted to sign up, you could sign up, and this is the first year, so I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what to expect yet, but we're hoping to do it every year, and it's right around the holidays, so you can get some presents in. And I know that the Pal and Chisel also does something like that. That's where I kind of got the idea, where they sell like they call it the fall clearance sale, and so nothing's over $300, and you don't have to even frame stuff. You can buy stuff unframed, so you can get a really nice deal, get some really good work from the students. And for myself, I'm going to have a lot of paintings. And also, if you just want to watch me demonstrate, because I will not demonstrate on Sunday morning, I will do it all day at the place there, and I may do it live then one time on the YouTube, on YouTube. I'll just do it live. I'm bringing my TV and everything, so you can watch it on the TV there, because we'll be doing some demonstrations, and all the students who are selling also will be demonstrating at the show if they want. They don't really have to, but most of them will kind of want to just work while you're selling. So now here I'm leaving a couple of spots light so that I can make it look like you're going around some of the snow. I'll put another one over here, even though there isn't in the picture one over here, but there is this the tree there that I have there is kind of like a double tree. It's it's got 2 points, and I didn't want to put that in there though, so I'm just making one a little bit less. It's not the same like the tree there. I'm just making up my own, because that one has like an extra sticking branch. So if it's important, that just like the photograph, then yeah, put it in there. I'm just putting my own trees in here. All right, Karen, if you're interested next year, that's fine. Or if you have stuff come by on Sunday, I'll give you a table. We still have a couple of tables available, so if you feel like you can make it here on Sunday at 11 for the setup, come on by. And for the artist, it's only $40 a table to have a table. And if you're interested, just email me offline, and I can tell you all the things that you have to do. It's not much. You just get there at 11 and you sell your stuff. This is a really good beer. Cheers again. All right, so there we have this side now. And so we have pretty much our darks, our background darks, and our foreground darks. And I know this is really dark looking, and a lot of this doesn't look like it has much color in it, but actually this side doesn't have that much color, so let me put a little bit more color in there. A little bit more green into this. So put a little bit of blue, brighter blue with a little green. It's wet now. I can go in there and just get all this branches going, bring it down. Well, it's wet. You can always do things when it's wet, right? Because you're floating the pigment, and you leave it in there. And now I'm going to go right into the water. And this water will reflect this tree. And I'm just going to reflect that tree by putting these back and forth Z lines, like a little Z. It's reflecting darks. And I learned that from, if you want to ever look at great water in like creeks like this for watercolor, look at John Pike's books. Boy, he's just amazing when he did his water and his little scenes of New York State and in the woods and so. Oh, they're just wonderful. John Pike. Now this building is going to be more brown, and so when I'm doing a building, I don't like to use a round brush, but I'm using it right now because I like to use a flat brush. It's a little bit easier because things are very rectangular, right? So it's easy to just go in there with a flat brush, which is like a rectangle. I'm gonna make this side. I'm gonna make this side darker and this side lighter, even just slightly. It's still gonna be both dark, and still part of my dark scene. I did put shutters on these windows, which I'll kind of do that after. Again, I made it up because the AI didn't give me a great shot of a cabin. I mean, it was okay, but it was kind of confusing for what actually was happening on the cabin. And then in the eaves of a cabin or anything, in the eaves, I always put orange. I always put orange in the eaves right here because it makes it look warm, like it's shining up into the eaves. And with the icicles that are on the building, I'm gonna do that with white paint or with opaque colors. Now the front I'll make a little bit lighter, just so you see the difference between the front and the side. And down here I get really dark, like on the bottom part here, more the foundation of the building. And this is underneath the deck is really dark. And then I take that same color that I used in there, which is kind of warm. So here we're going to use the same color that we had up there, and I'm just going to bring it down into the water and reflect, and also get the light. See, I'm just kind of looking like these are the windows reflecting into the water. And look at my brush, how it goes back and forth, like a goes back and forth instead of up and down, because that's the way you make it look like it's wavy a little bit. And then the people, I know there's going to be people right there. Use my little bit smaller rectangular brush. And I'll probably give them a little bit more color, so I'm going to put a little bit of color in here, maybe red. And this person will have a little color there. And there's rocks right here, here and there, there's rocks. And I also didn't make this go off the page, I kind of made this like it stops and there's like, you know, I guess I could go all the way across too. Yeah, let's just go all the way across. Sometimes I think about it too much, and so just let's go all the way across and it's done. Get some nice dark blue in there from the tree. And then there are some weeds and bushes right here, and we'll get that in there in a second when we do our details. Here are the people. Here's the dog. Here's the building. Kind of making it back and forth lines. Here's a rock. Nice and dark. And there's more detail than you see, I'm sure, because it's hard to show the slight difference in colors and such in a video. You don't pick up the intricacies of the painting. A lot of times you don't see that, but they're there. Now here we got some bushes, so I'm just going to tap it down like this. I'll take my rigger brush, real quickly put some of these like little branches going up. Little weeds. Then there is this fence. I did put a fence in here too. I just drew it in, a little fence. I'll be putting snow on all this, which is really fun. That's the fun part I really enjoy doing. I know it's like not the right way for watercolors to put white paint in, but I'm really kind of digging that now lately with my gouache. I just think it looks cool. I'd like it. So let's get back to our big cabin. Big area of middle tones. Get a little bit more orangey. Red. A little bit more red. And I could go around I could go around the icicles, but again, I'm going to go faster, so I'm just going to go right through them and put them in later with the opaque. Any questions? Well, Cindy, I'm glad. Cindy Lou, thanks. Can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what you do. I love seeing what you guys do with the things, and I know that some people try to paint along. And that's what the lady had asked today, if she could, what to do first. She sketched it on first, and I know that most of you don't paint while I'm painting because it's a little bit too hard to keep up and watch at the same time. So, I mean, you could do that and then just not, you're not going to be live exactly at the same time. Because you can do that too. You can paint it and then stop it. and then pick it up, because it'll just pick up from where you left off, but then you're not live anymore. You're behind a little bit then if you're doing it at the same time. All right, around the door here, I'm just going to make a little part of the window. Top of the deck is, and I'm going to try to put a little thing over here. I'm going to try to keep the top of the deck light, because it is kind of light in the thing. Maybe here's a little bit darker. And then I'll put details, all kinds of little details in here too. And I know it's, you know, again, by putting opaques, it kind of doesn't make it transparent watercolor when you start using opaques and such. But it's not traditional then if you're going to put in gouache afterwards. I don't find that to be a bad thing though. I kind of like the look, and so that's what I've been doing a lot lately. Now the shadows from the lights coming out of the windows, and let me just do the shutters a little bit darker. Just make it a little bit darker, different color. The shutters on the side of the building. They're not quite as dark, and I can go back in and even get the lines of maybe it's a log cabin. I can get that in there. Now I want to get the shadowing from the light coming out, hitting the dog, and then just going away from the viewer, or from the house. So then we're just going to go in here. It just fades off. Side of the, I noticed too that a lot of everybody in class today wasn't making the side of the creek here a little bit darker, because it kind of folds down under, and you kind of go under, so get it on the side here a little bit darker. And there is a rock in the middle of this thing here. I can put that in there or not, it doesn't matter really. The details now, it's pretty much all my large darks, all my large mediums, they're all done. So detail stage, and let me just get rid of this white right here. It kind of looks kind of weird. All right, so now let's go in there with our details. And so our details, what are our details? Our details are the chimney needs to be darker. Then we need the side of the snow on the house. Need this to be a little bit darker on the edges. A little bit bluish purple. And so I'm just putting a little bit darker away on the sides here. So by making everything a little bit darker, all the shadows, the sky darker, but doesn't this look like it's really lit up now? I mean, now it looks like things are really lit up right here where the people are. And so I'm going to rub out a little bit. I'm going to tickle this person right here to get rid of some of the dark. And that way I'll have a place to put fresh paint down. Like I said in this week's newsletter on how to redo an area or fix a wash. All I'm doing is I'm tickling it, getting rid of some of this paint, because I need to get rid of that paint in there and go back to light. And then I can put other colors in there. You can't put on top. That's thick. That doesn't look transparent. So that you can't do. You can't just make things look transparent by putting a lighter color on top. It'll look very opaque if you're using gouache. So you need to get rid of the color first. Like right here, I'm taking the color off a little bit. And then you'll have it light again. And then you can apply water and float more pigment on top of that. So let's take and do the people now. So I'm going to use my rigger brush, and I do have to get myself a smaller brush, a number 2 brush, because this is nice, but sometimes I would really like to have a short brush that's not as long as the thing to get in there and get some really fine details. I mean, this is really small. I mean, right now this dog is really small, and I mean, it's not bad using a rigger, you know, it's not a bad thing, but I tend to need to get myself some smaller brushes when I'm doing some really fine details, short brushes with really fine points. I'll give this person a red top, just because their center of interest, this whole area right here is a center of interest. So, and you don't have to put the person in. You don't have to do that. It's just, I felt like I didn't do it this afternoon. I want to try to see what it looks like with them in there. Leash. And then we have the tree they're dragging a Christmas tree with, so we're going to make that green. Let's make it a dark green, and I will make it along and make it look like there's snow on it. And if you need to find like a pictures like this, you know, type it into Google. And I know a lot of Google even has now, some of these places have the apps where you can ask it and it'll make it for you. These AI apps. I think Adobe's AI app is Firefly. I think it's called Firefly. Sergeant used opaque wash are in good company. Oh, thanks, Sylvia. Yes, he did. And I saw, I was in the Art Institute one time looking at one of the shows, and he used it very thickly too. So it's just how you use it too. You know, I don't use it to like correct mistakes. You know, I use it to enhance. I try to use it to enhance things. And that's the same thing he had done. That's the same thing Sargent did. He had used it to enhance some of his light parts. And so now the window, I'm going to put snow on the windowsills, and that's all going to be done with white paint. But right now I'm just getting my darks, my detailed darks. I'm going to give the cabin itself some lines looking of like log cabin type of lines. And detail is a good thing, you know. It's not like detail is fun, and you need it. Some people get really loose, but it's good to have a little bit of detail in your work, in the center, especially in the center of interest, like what I'm doing now. And now I'll put the little railing on here. I'll put like a railing. Front door can have a little side. There's maybe a bench, and I'll even explain more once I get the snow on top of these railings and such, because then it really looks snowy. Here, you even have a foundation right here. Here I'm putting some rocks on the side of the river, and I'll be putting snow on top of that. Got some weeds. Let's give him a blue top. Here we'll have a kid. Let's put another person right here. Make the face a little bit lighter. Yeah, I always like putting people in the paintings because it does, you're right, it does give it life. I find that, you know, it just gives it a little bit of, though we were talking today in class about how, you know, this looks a little bit like a Thomas Kincaid, you know, so we're like, oh boy, now the painter of light, right? And so we had a whole discussion on the painter of light and Bob Ross and about how it's like, you know, he painted things like that for Christmas cards and lighting, but it's all good. It's all good. Time we have here. Oh, we have plenty of time. Got this done kind of quickly. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to use white paint. And let me show you. I'm not going to use white paint per se because my white is everything there that's supposed to be white. I'm going to glow this a little bit more here by them. I want to, actually let's make her dark here. So what I want to do, see, this is almost too white all around here. It doesn't have that glow of pink. So I do want to put a little pink there glowing away from them. So I'm going to take a little bit of this pink glow there a little bit. Make it glow so it's not as white here. Away from them a little bit. I'm just going to glow it, make it glow a little bit there. Because the less light, then it's only should be shining in a couple of spots, and the rest can be, you know, to that. That way your look and that spot really make it important, that spot. Down here a little bit darker, the water. So again, I'm forcing you to look right in the center of interest. Again, I'm doing that because I want to center that value study like I did before. I want it to really focus in on those little light spots there, and the windows. That's where I want all the light to be. And the rest can be a little bit darker, and so that it shows that really well. All right, so now let's put it on the white snow on things. And again, it's not white snow. It's going to be like lavender here. I'll put some lavender snow on top. Or I use a little bit of white with lavender and make it, it's got to be a little bit lighter. And maybe light blue. And then I just put on top of things, like on top of the railing of the fence. And like on the windowsills where I couldn't paint around it. I'm just going to put a little there. How about on top of the railing of the little deck right here? I wanted to put it into a little bit darker for the icicles hanging out off the building. So just little icicles. And again, yes, this is opaque. It's just so easy doing this though. Instead of going back in and having masking fluid or trying to paint around that. Now those are a little bit too light. And so I'm just going to dab my finger on it across them. And see, I'll just get rid of them a little bit. And so they're not so, they should be at the same darkness as the shadow right there. But a little bit lighter than the dark brown. Over here on top of there's a bench right here, and just put a little bit white there. On top of these rocks in the front here, there's like these rocks by the water, and just put them on there. Now these back here, remember I said I would do it in the background? These trees back here, I can just put a little bit of like it's like the shape of a tree. And I can put them back there, and it depends on how detailed you want to get. Maybe it's already the way you wanted it before I did this. Then that's fine. Leave it that way. Here I'm going to take a little bit of the little white, and now this is going to be a little bit bigger because I want to take the branch. I'm just going to kind of put it in there, and it goes across some of the branches. And so what's happening is you just lay it on top of the dark, because it lays, the snow is like you're putting on snow on top of the branches. And I'm just taking a little bit of light blue, a little lavender, making it kind of dirty. I don't want it white. So I'm just going to go in here. And like I said, I could have done this with the negative painting, which is a lot harder though. It's a lot easier to do it this way. Negative painting sometimes for beginners is very, very tough to do, but this is then the way of seeing it where the light is, and maybe next time you can see that since this is white that you'd have to paint around this, or put masking fluid down like this over a blue wash that you had done first. Now also some of these branches that are coming out from the down here in the bottom, they're going to be a little bit white, and then maybe there's some berries on some of these branches. Here. Well, thanks. Yeah, I love great composition, but I just follow my value study. You know, when I talked in the beginning, remember I talked about how I needed to either be black and white, and so I really follow that black and white aspect of showing what this is the light, even though I do middle tones, but those middle tones are towards the dark. And so you have to keep that in mind, that you always follow the value study. The value study kind of shows your good composition, your good value pattern. And the detail is just what it is. It's detail showing, it's like putting the writing on the top of the cake. You know, it's like the happy birthday on top of the cake after you get everything layered. Then you go do this afterwards. All this little detail stuff wouldn't have worked as well if I don't have it designed well, of the lights and darks. This is easy now because everything is already designed. I'm just adding things that show what the things are. That dog is huge. It's a big dog. And then we have the tree coming back here. That's nice. You put footprints coming back through the woods here, making footprints. All right, I think that's it, guys. Another fun one. And next week we're going to be talking about, to just give you a little bit of a heads up, I've been trying to get a little bit ahead of myself a little bit because I've got so much work to do right now for a gallery in Dallas that I'm really trying to get ahead of with some of the things like the newsletter. And so next week we're talking about color, right? Strictly color, about how to use color, what everything could be, the colors. It's just going to be about color. And the fact that I used to have a saying that said anything can be any color, and that's so true. Anything can really be any color you want it to be, as long as you have the right values. And so I'm talking a little bit about color. And next week we're painting a old rusty truck. I already have the figure, or I already have the picture, and it's gonna be an old rusty truck in the snow by woods. So we're gonna be doing pine trees probably again, but it'll be an old rusty truck, and you can put a nice pine or a Christmas tree in the back of that thing too, so if you still want to do some, you know, holiday cards for yourself. I need one more thing here, and I think we pretty much got it done here, guys. Unless you see something that I missed. Did I miss something that I said I was going to do? Let's get the tape off, but I think that's it. This side is a little... that side should be a little bit darker. This is kind of grayish. Let me just make this a little bit darker with a little dark brown right here. Get this edge a little bit darker. And then we're good. And we don't even need this little white line there. But we can have it there. That's okay. Alright, that's it. Tape off. And we're good for another week. Any last questions? Yeah, we always try to make it more interesting than a photo. We always try to do that. It's one thing I want it to look like a beautiful painting. I don't want it to look like a copy of a photo. And actually, this photo was made up by AI, parts of it. So we don't want to make it look like the AI version of that. So let me show you again about the difference between the lighting that I was talking about. So there is a little bit darker, so that the light is hitting here, compared to where this scene, where it looks more like it's daytime and the sun's just about to go down and this is still light. See how the difference is between lights and darks? And this one I used more purples and blues, and this one I used more blue and orange and yellow. So it's, again, you decide on what you want to use. It's either way is fine. Either way looks good. Could put people in or not. No people, people. It's all up to you. Have fun with it. If you need to ask questions, go to my Facebook group and ask questions, and we'll always answer them. And so thanks, guys. And everybody, I'll probably see you before next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we will not have one next Thursday. I'll probably do it Wednesday evening. I'll probably do it because next Thursday we are not doing a paint along on Thursday on Thanksgiving. So come visit me on Wednesday afternoon, in the evening, I mean, and so we'll do a paint along then. All right, and so cheers, everybody. And if I don't see you, have a great Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.